Okay, we are recording. Let me get my Coke ready. Welcome into It's Host the Film. I'm one of your hosts, Ebo, and on today's episode, something I've been wanting to do for a long time. We talk about movies on here, and we talk about people who know the movies. Well, I know somebody who knows the movies. This man, he's going to the theater all the time. When he's not doing that, he's taking the most incredible photos you've ever seen with your own eyes. You can see him at Action Wrestling. You can see him here, there, everywhere. You can apparently see him cruising all the time because this man likes to party. Ladies and gentlemen, my good friend, the most kind and talented man you'll ever meet, Corey Tatum.
Thank you. Thank you. How are you?
Apparently humble. That's all you can say?
I'm sorry. It's great to be here. I'm glad to finally be on a Toast to Film podcast. Me and Eddie go way, way back. I'm talking like almost 10 years, man. Almost.
It's wild when you think about it. But yeah, my first AWE show would have been, dang. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, time flies when you're watching movies.
It does. It really, really does. And man, I love movies. I watch them all the time. I'd say I probably watch at least, let's say, 3 or 4 a week. Let's say something like that. And I'm constantly, learning about new stuff that's coming out and listening to people's reviews and all that kind of stuff and writing my own reviews on Letterboxd. So I just love it. Like I've been a fan of film since the early 1980s. And I'm constantly trying to find new things to watch and branch out to different genres that I've never seen before and stuff like that. So I love it.
See stuff like Beau is Afraid.
Yeah, that will not be discussed on this podcast tonight.
Oh man, look, y'all. So Corey, if you want to check out his Letterboxd, it's New Film Editor. And you can also check him out on Twitter, where you're currently doing the Bales Film Challenge. Can you explain this?
Yeah. So I saw that like about a month ago. I can't remember the guy's name, but Angry Video Guy, I think is his name. But basically, he like puts out a list. Each day there's a challenge. Like today is threading the needle. So you see someone threading a needle through, taking some thread and putting it through a needle in a movie. So say like Phantom Thread or something that has something to do with sewing or costuming or something like that. And he'll just write like what the national holiday is. We'll say National Threading Day. And then you just have to basically put out a movie out there that does that as an example. Now, I didn't know if we were supposed to watch this movie on the day or something like that, but I've done that a couple of times. But he'll just list them throughout the whole month, and it's just fun to see what people tweet out and mention. So
a few of them that I've seen from you. It's one where it's not something that comes to your mind right away.
Exactly.
Like people fighting in a movie. I mean, I could give you 100 movies right now where somebody fights or people fly an airplane, but it's like, I think one was like someone's on an arcade system.
Yeah.
Or something like that. It's something that you got to think about, and it's pretty neat. Y'all should definitely, look into this, but also check out Corey because he's been posting some interesting movies. I mean, I'll be foreverly grateful to Corey because he introduced me to The Stuff. Which, if you haven't seen The Stuff, that's a wild ride.
It's a classic, dude. It's one that scared me so bad when I was a kid, and even to this day when I watch it, there's one scene in there that I'm just like, I can't look at this. And I know you're a guy who really likes some out there horror movies. Me and you, we kind of go back and forth about what we like and dislike with horror. And because you introduced me to, was it Beaver? What was that?
Oh, Zombeavers?
Zombeavers, yeah. Oh my God. That was a wild movie, man.
Would you like to know an interesting statistic about this show?
What's that?
This is the 174th episode of A
Oh
Toast.
wow.
Okay, if you include like bonus stuff, mini reviews, all that, just total
Okay.
episode 174. Zombievers is the most discussed movie on this podcast.
Really?
Not intentionally, but we always find a way to reference it by accident or like you. I would have never thought you would bring that up, but so Zombievers, we're keeping it alive. Most talked about movie on this podcast.
It sticks with you. That's probably why.
Hey, when you see that first little puppet beaver biting the girl, I mean, that's all you need. What else do you need?
Exactly. Exactly. Which is it? Zombievers or Cocaine Bear?
Zombievers all day. Come on now. That's not
Zombievers
even a
all day.
question.
I
All
would agree
day.
with
That little puppet, man. And they hit it with the bat, and you know it's just a puppet, but it's like doing like this number.
It's so
All
good.
you need in your life.
It's so good.
But guys, the reason I brought in Corey is because one, Trey's slacking. Two, I wanted to have Corey on. But let's get to the real reason. Number three, it is halfway through the year. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Mhm.
And we wanted to come on here and tell you, give you 10 films that if you haven't seen, you need to check out.
Yeah.
10 films, you know what? You don't got that much time in your life. You need to avoid these. And then maybe a little extra. So, Corey, we always like to start out with the good. So, why don't you give me your top 5 films that people need to check out?
Okay. Well, I know that you said the only criteria for this list was basically to have watched it in 2023. Not that it was released
That's it.
in 2023, but that was watched. So, but luckily for the top 5 that I have, 4 out of the 5 actually were released in 2023. If you were to go and look at my Letterboxd page, I think I'm up to probably 150. No, 100, probably 136 movies watched this year. Yeah, I know, I'm terrible. I'm up to about 130, what I say, 130 something movies this year that I've seen. But these top 5 were actually from 4 of the 5 were from 2023, and one that was from 1981. So my top 5 are. You want me to just tell you the first one and then go into it, or just give you the list?
Just say each movie, say what you like about it, why people need to see it. If I've seen it, I might jump in because I know there's 2 that I wanted to just gush for a sec. But yeah, so hit us. Okay. What's number 5?
Number 5 for me is still a Michael J. Fox movie. This is a documentary from Apple Plus about Michael J. Fox. It's actually told in his own words, basically about his condition, having Parkinson's disease, and then also how that affected him in his entire career. And the thing that I love about this movie so much is the way that it's actually told. It's told in such a unique way from any documentary that I've seen, where the editing is like you have a mix of recreations of that production. Mm-hmm. So you would have him like in the Back to the Future outfit, we'll say, with the vest and the jeans and everything, and he's coming on set, and then it intercuts with actual film footage at the same time, and it's so seamless. And then so it's that part of it, and then it's also one of those things where, like, you know, I grew up with Michael J. Fox. I mean, honestly, he's probably one of my favorite actors of all time, just because he has that relatability to me. Not that we're the same age or anything like that, but I felt like some of the things he's going through in some of these films really attract me. Back to the Future is one of my all-time favorite films, and ever since then, I've followed his career, Family Ties, you know, The Secret of My Success, so on and so forth. Sin City, yeah, exactly. And so, you know, his career is something that I followed, that I really latched on to him once I found out that he had Parkinson's disease. And when he's telling this story in his own words of documentary, there are moments where I'm like, oh my God, I saw this movie or I saw this TV series and I never knew that he had Parkinson's, you know? And so it's not until his later years where it starts to really come out and you can actually see it physically that you're like, wow, you know? The reason why it's called Still is because he says that his whole life he's never been able to sit still. And now his body physically really can't sit still, you know? It's heartbreaking. It's moving. It's motivating to make you keep going. You know, someone who has that type of disease and is not giving up. And, you know, you may have a hurt back one day, or you may feel like you don't want to do your job, or you may, you know, just don't want to live, you know, keep living. This gives you that motivation to go, you know, here's someone who may be different from me and is really going through something really, really hard. And I need to continue to go down that path. If he can do it, I can do it. Right. The only thing that I would say is, and this is a small nitpick for me, is it's just that I hate when films like this are released on streaming. So it's an Apple TV Plus original that is something that I can't physically own. You know, I don't want to have a subscription to Apple TV Plus just to watch this movie. I'm really big into physical media. I have like over 1,500 films. And so I really would like to own this one because I'd like to watch it and also see some of the behind the scenes type things or whatever. But if you get a chance and you have Apple TV Plus, I highly, highly recommend it. Like I would sign up just for that film alone. But there was another film last year that was my favorite film of the year, which was Coda. And that's another one that I'm like, I wish I could physically own this, you know? So, but it's a great movie. 5 stars all the way.
Yeah, you've been talking that one for a while.
Yeah, it's really, really good. I actually even have his book Lucky Man that my wife bought for me years ago, but I haven't read it. I want to now.
It's okay. This is a movie podcast. We're gonna allow that. This is not a books podcast. That would be a toast a page or something.
Yeah, exactly. So, still a Michael J. Fox movie is my number 5. My number 4 is a movie from 1981 called Modern Romance. This is a movie from Albert Brooks about a guy who is obsessively in love with this woman, and they're in a relationship, and he says that it's a very disruptive relationship where all they do is fight, and then, you know, they make love and get back together. But I think it's all in his head, to be honest with you. But it's one of those things where it's like, I feel like in order for you to love someone else, you have to love yourself first. And I don't think that he necessarily loves himself first, so he doesn't know how to love someone else. So all he knows how to do is just obsessively tell this person, I love you, 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 type of thing, right? And it's almost borderline horror watching this movie. Like in the third act, you're waiting for something like a horror type thing to happen. And it doesn't, you know, spoiler, it doesn't, you know, whatever, but it's just that tension there. But it's one of those things, like I said, it's probably one of the funniest movies that I've ever seen from 1981, and I had never seen this. There's a scene in there. I was watching this on my iPad, I think, or something. I had my headphones on. My wife is sitting across from me, and I just hysterically could not stop laughing, like bellow over laughter, tears, and to this day, when I think about it, it just still makes me laugh. It has great dialogue, it has great acting, it has a great soundtrack, and also Albert Brooks is a film editor in this movie, and because I have a film background and I'm an editor, a video editor right now, working for a TV station, it really connected with me. Some of the things that he's doing in his job that I was like, yep, been there, done that. I see it, you know, every day. That part of it really latched to me too, and was really relatable. So I love that.
Have you ever seen Blowout?
Yeah, I own that on Criterion. That's a great movie too.
I do too. That's a good one.
Yeah. Any movies that have anything to do with editing, or, you know, whether it's sound or video or something like that, like I instantly am like, yep, I'll watch that one. Let's see how they do it and showcase it. So Yeah, that's a great movie. Modern romance. It is currently on Criterion right now. If you have Criterion, I would definitely check it out from 1981. That's my number four. Number three is a movie that everybody has probably seen or talked about this year, which is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sequel to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Um, Man, that movie blew me away. I'm surprised that I hadn't seen it more than once in the theater this year. I'm really really waiting for the Blu-ray to come out so that I can watch it again. But talk about a painting, like there's so many moments in this movie that you just want to stop, pause, and just look at it. It's like going to a
Frame it.
museum. Yeah, frame it. Frame it. But it's like going to a museum, seeing all these different art styles and stuff like that. Like I can't. Like I'm a video editor, like I said, and sometimes I have to deal with graphics and create a little lower third or some type of animation or something like that. But I'm not a graphic designer. I cannot fathom how they came up with these concepts in this movie. Like all these different art styles and how they blend together so freaking well. Like I just don't, I can't fathom them.
Even live action.
Even live action. Even live action. They just do everything. Like, and Into the Spider Verse was a concept of its own in the beginning that I was just like, wow, I can't believe how they did this. When I went to go see this movie, I was like, I don't know how the world they're going to be able to top that first one. And I didn't want them to, and I didn't expect them to. I just wanted to get some of the same of what I had already seen. You know what I mean? I was fine with that. But the fact that they take it, over the top and make it even better, and keep those relationships there that were there between him and Gwen, and blah blah blah, and all of that stuff just like mended so well. Shakir Moore, I don't know how you say his name. I can't remember.
Get it right.
Shameik Moore. Love him. I loved him in Dope. I loved him in the Wu Tang series that's on Hulu. I think he's a fantastic actor, and I think he's a great voice actor. Like I really feel like he does a really good job of allowing those emotions to pour out over his voice. I thought all the other players in the movie did a really great job as well, voice acting. But the story is just really there, and in this one, I truly believe that it's more of a Spider Gwen movie than it is a Miles Morales movie. But the balance is still really there. You know what I mean? And it's so well done, and the music too. Oh my god, I did the same thing. I did the same thing that I did with the first movie. When I saw the first movie, I immediately came home and I downloaded the soundtrack, and I was like, I love all these songs. I did the exact same thing with this movie and downloaded all the songs. And my wife hasn't seen it, but I was in the car. We went on a road trip, and I started playing the soundtrack, and she was like, "Who is this? What is this?" And I said, "It's all from Spider-Man." And she was like, "Is the whole thing like this?" I was like, "Yes." It's almost like when I can't remember his name, but when he produced the Wakanda soundtrack, it was all produced by the same guy. I'm blanking on his name, but it's like it tells a story, and the music for this movie tells a story as well. And I thought it was doing a really good job. One more point about that movie is just that I felt like for me, it did a really good job of allowing me to learn insight of what the youth are going through nowadays. I'm a 45-year-old African American man who does not have children. And sometimes when I watch TikTok or when I'm looking at things on Twitter or when I'm interacting with someone who's younger than me, I'm talking about like in their 20s, and maybe even younger than that. I don't really necessarily understand their psyche. Like I don't understand the language.
I'm in the same boat.
Yeah, I don't understand the music. I don't understand any of that stuff. I had a wrestling friend of mine that I was talking to on Facebook, and his name is Owen Knight. And I sent him a message, and he sent me, yeah, Owen's great, but he's way younger than me, and so he sent me a like like one of those oh my god, I'm blanking. but almost like a oh, why am I blanking? What am I
What are you
trying
trying
to
to
say?
describe?
He was just short, he was talking in short form, basically.
Okay.
And I didn't know what he was saying. Like almost like somebody saying IDN or IDK, I don't know. Or
Yeah.
BRB, be right back. One of those types of
Like
things.
an anagram?
Yeah, like an anagram. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. He sent me an anagram. And I was staring at this thing and I was like, I have no idea what you're saying. And then he laughed and then he told me what it was and it meant. And I was like, oh, okay. So what I'm trying to say is that I feel like this film really touches on what some of the youth are feeling or how they talk or whatever. It gave me a new insight into that youth, right? And it made me wonder how people maybe of that age were seeing this movie and were they seeing themselves on screen? Did they feel like they were portrayed in the right way? Or did they feel like, how relatable is that? You know what I mean? Like when I was growing up, things that were relatable to me, I mean, I saw on screen and I just wonder if that representation was there for them when they went and saw this movie. So I wanted to actually have some conversations with some people to see how that came across. But it worked for me, so I would think that it would work for them. But man, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is something that I never imagined would be as good as it is. I'll tell you a negative that I had about this movie is the only fact that, it being a part one was a little bit annoying because I didn't remember that in the marketing. I saw it early on, and then they went and changed the name, and I feel like that's kind of a slight to some people, including myself a little bit. Some of the guys that I went with felt the exact same way, and the people in the theater, you could hear the loud gasp when it was over, like, "Oh my God, is that it? Like, is this a part two? This. I still give it a 5 though. I still think it's a fantastic movie to watch, and just enjoy. And the score is just fantastic. Not only the soundtrack, but the score is fantastic too. The build of it is just like so awesome.
And Spider-Punk.
And Spider-Punk, who was so cool.
Dude, that man was so cool every time he's on screen.
Oh, he's so cool. That's Daniel Kaluuya.
Yeah.
Daniel Kaluuya, yeah. So slick. So slick.
Mm-hmm.
And even the Indian spider.
Oh yeah, from Mumbattan.
Yes. So good. And there were so many. There were so many in there.
There was so many.
Like you can't even
once
count
you
them.
get there.
Yeah. I will say what I wanted to have happen. This is me wishful thinking, but this threw in so much stuff for Spider-Man that I wish that they had thrown in the 1967 Spider-Man, the live action. I kept waiting for
him. They had the old animated, but they didn't have the live action.
Nah, 1970s, I think. That was really that right there. I would have flipped out because I grew up on that, whatever. Like when him being in the Electric Company and all that kind of stuff. That would have been cool. That would have been so cool. So that's my number 3.
Okay.
Our number 2 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Yeah. For those watching.
look at Teeps over there.
And Floor and Rocket and Lila.
Dude, that movie. So Marvel, with all the Avengers and all the other 30 movies that we have, I've always latched on to Guardians of the Galaxy. That whole entire group. From the very first movie. I have read Marvel comics. I've read DC comics. I've never read a Guardians of the Galaxy comic, but I have read Infinity War, so I knew of them, that type of thing. So when I saw the trailers and stuff for the first movie, I was like, okay, this is interesting, different, cool. That first movie blew me away. I mean, absolutely blew me away. The chemistry between all the characters. You love every single one of them. You care about every single one of them. I feel like with the Avengers main core and other people like that, other groups, there's maybe one or two that stand out more to you than the others. You know, some people are like, "Oh, I'm Team Iron Man. I'm Team Captain America." You know, that type of thing. You don't see that with the Guardians. They're all individuals, but they all come cohesively as a team, and you love every single one of them. So with this movie, with the third one, I had high expectations, and it met every single one of them. I cried 5 times watching this movie.
Yeah.
There was a guy sitting next to me. It was a sold out theater. There was a guy sitting next to me who bought a ticket by himself. And dude, I wanted to reach over and hug him so bad. I was bawling and he was bawling at the same time. And I was just thinking to myself, I'm not alone here. I'm not alone. I'm so glad that I'm not alone. I've recently have had some things, and this probably has something to do with how I feel about the movie, but I recently had some things happen to me in my life within the last couple months. I lost a pet recently, and I had never owned a pet before. This was the first pet that I ever owned, and she was really a part of our family. So the opening scene with Rocket, I'm not trying to spoil the movie or anything like that. I was like, I almost wanted to walk out. Like I was like, I'm not ready for this. But I'm glad that I stayed and I watched this movie because it really allowed me to let those emotions out that I needed to let out. Oh my God. I mean, it just tears at your heartstrings with this movie. And the comedy is there. Like the comedy beats are still there with every single character. Drax is still freaking hilarious. The action scenes, the set pieces, the different planets. That's what I love about these movies, the Guardians movies themselves, is the experimentation that James Gunn does and the expansion that he creates with these galaxies. The imagination put on screen is just like, wow. It's a lot like Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, of where like you can't even imagine some of these planets and some of these things that they come up with, you know. Even the villain, I felt like the villain was really fantastic. Probably one of the best villains in Marvel, to be honest with you, just from his performance alone, being so Shakespearean, you know, and everything like that. Again, this is another movie where I fell in love with the soundtrack. A lot of these songs I had never heard of before. A lot of the needle drops I had never heard of before. But I was like, I want this entire soundtrack because it's just fantastic. You know, so and I'm glad that James Gunn was able to come in and actually finish this movie before he moves on to DC and able to give closure to this group. You know, I really felt like they did a really good job with closure of this group and closure of this trilogy. Done really, really well. You know, it's just really good. I went and saw it twice. I actually saw it during the opening week, and then I told my wife I needed to go right back. I bought a ticket like 2 days later and went right back and cried the exact same beats as I did the first time.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
No, not at all.
It's
no,
good. You got to let it out, man.
You got to let it out, dude. And hey, look, I'll tell you right now, I'm a crier. I love to cry. I love movies that make me cry. It's so weird. My wife hates crying. She doesn't know why I cry so damn much, but I love it.
I mean, Corey, I'm such a big crier that I cry at Publix Christmas commercials. So,
dude, I'm not that bad.
I know, dude. Trust me. So I always tell folks, if you think you're bad at crying at movies, it's pretty hard to top me because I just the slightest like hint of sweetness, and I just like, no, I'm good, I'm fine. And then they hug, and I'm just like, oh, why?
I saw A Star Is Born, which is one that will always sit with me.
Oh man,
what was that, 2018? I had an outer body experience. Like, I could not control it. Like, it was one of those deep throat, like in the back of your throat type of cry that just hurts really, really bad. And I came home and I wrote some stuff on Facebook, and people thought something was wrong with me. Like my mother-in-law called me. It was like, "Are you okay?" My wife called me. It was like, "Are you okay?" And I saw the movie probably 6 times, and every single time it's the exact same way. I felt the same way with Guardians of the Galaxy, of where I had that outer body experience, and I was like, it's so touching and so heart wrenching that if you don't cry or you don't have that real emotional feeling towards this movie, there's something wrong with you. There's really something wrong with your soul. I mean, seriously.
I tell people it's just there's just so much good in it. I mean, you
Yeah.
can't help but love it.
You really can't. You really can't. So yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which is coming out next week, and I can't wait to go get my Steel book. I am so ready. I know I can watch it now if I just download the digital version, but I gotta have that physical copy, so can't wait. And then my last movie on my top 5 is Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret.
Okay, this is the one I've been waiting. So, because I know like what kind of person you are. Like I know your heart and all that stuff. But I have been waiting to hear because you have been talking this movie up since you saw it.
Yeah.
Like I saw your review and I was like, "What?" And I was like, "This movie?" Because I still haven't seen it. I'm waiting to see it. It's on the list of things I got to watch. So hit me with "Are You There, God? It's Margaret."
It's on Blu-ray now. It's on streaming. Please make sure you watch it. Well, I don't know if it's streaming for free, but you should pay for it and watch it. It's just a movie that honestly came out of left field for me. I had never read the book. I kind of knew the concept of what the book was about, but I didn't know fully what it was about. And I went on an afternoon. I was in the theater by myself, thank God, because I was able to react the way that I wanted to react. It's so sweet. It's so charismatic. And it's just something where like it's just innocent. It's just really, really innocent. It's I'm all about feel good movies. I'm all about feel good movies, and I'm all about coming of age films, movies that really dig deep into the psyche of a young person who's just trying to basically learn about life and learn about themselves. And this movie is so freaking funny. Like it is hilarious. I feel like the relationships of every single character in this movie mend well together. The relationships between Margaret and her mother really mend well. The relationship really between her and her grandmother, played by Kathy Bates, is so perfect. I have my mom. My mom has 4 grandchildren, and the relationship that she has with her grandchildren reminded me of the relationship of Margaret with her grandmother. They are so close, and they share things that she doesn't feel like she can share with her mother or anybody else. Like she really doesn't have any friends because she just moved and that kind of thing. So her relationship with her grandmother has always been there, and that to me was really relatable. I feel like this is some of the best child acting that I've seen from the entire cast. Like I believe there's 4 or 5 girls, and every single one of these child actors are fantastic. I have never seen them before, and I hope that they get more work. The director who also did, she also did Edge of 17. I'm not sure if you saw that movie.
Oh my God.
What did you think
I
about
love Edge of 17.
Dude, you're going to love Are You There? It's God, It's Me, Margaret. I
Edge
was watching.
Was so good.
It was so good. So good. I was watching Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, and I was like, this feels so familiar. Just the pacing and the way she's drawing emotion out of these characters, I was like, this feels so familiar. And it wasn't until I went home and Googled who the director was, I was like, oh yeah, and that's the only other movie that she's done is Edge of 17. And so I was like, oh, I cannot wait to see what else she has in store, coming along the way. And it was so good that I came home and I read the book. And the book is so short, but I think that it does exactly what Judy Blume was trying to do on screen. It's one of those books that has been around for 50 years. It's been banned all over the place, but every single girl has read it. My wife has read it. She owns a copy of it. And it's one of those movies you don't have to have read the book. You don't have to have been a woman or a girl to see this movie and really understand truly what they're going through. Anybody can enjoy this movie. It's a Saturday matinee, dude. It's like a movie that you would see on TV somewhere, like a Saturday matinee. But it's great that it's gotten that big budget, full on movie production to it as well. I just think it's great. I love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. It's an easy watch, and one that you can just put on repeat. Like I just bought the Blu-ray last week or 2 weeks ago, and I've already watched it again. It's so good.
That makes me happy.
Yeah, it just puts a smile on your face. It puts a smile on your face.
Dude, before I hit you with my 5, just real quick, give us those 5 movies again.
So my number 5 was still a Michael J. Fox movie. My number 4 was Modern Romance. Number 3 was Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Number 2, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And number 1, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret.
Right on. All right. I don't know if I can follow that, but let's start out with my number 5. Whenever I do a number 5 or like whatever's the end, I always like it to be just an out of left field movie. So number 5, let's follow Russell Crowe to the cinema for The Pope's Exorcist.
Are you serious?
Let me tell you, Corey. This movie is trying to be a horror movie while also trying intentionally to be a comedy. Because like Russell Crowe's character is like making jokes and stuff the whole movie. And I mean, when you see Russell Crowe in a Pope outfit riding a Vespa, like how can you not be entertained?
Oh my gosh.
This movie I was expecting to be hot garbage and it just worked for me. I don't know. I liked it. I tell y'all, check out The Pope's Exorcist. Russell Crowe doing that same accent he did in Thor: Love and Thunder, but for an hour. It's the same accent, Corey, for an hour and a half.
Oh no, I can't. I don't think I can do that.
Corey, follow him to the cinema.
No. His accent in Thor: Love and Thunder was funny. And it was probably the best thing about.
Imagine an hour and a half.
Yeah, that's what I can't fathom. That's what I cannot fathom. Mm-mm.
I think it actually was better though. I don't know. It's a weird thing, but I'm telling you, it's the same exact accent. But just I don't know, maybe the character was better. The movie's silly, but I enjoy it, man. I don't know.
But is it silly on purpose?
That's what I mean. It's silly on purpose. Like the Pope, like at one point he like walks past schoolgirls and he goes, "Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo." Like this is a real thing that happened in the movie. It's bizarre. Like I don't know who this movie's for or what, but Pope's Exorcist, number 5.
Let me ask you another question about the Pope's Exorcist.
Uh-huh.
So I have seen The Exorcist one time. I will never watch that movie again. I own it, but I'll never watch it again. Is it in the same canon as the Exorcist films?
Oh no.
Okay. And is it scary?
Movie?
Is it scary like that?
No.
Okay.
No. Like it's what I call spooky. So like if their intention is to be scary, but like it's no more scary than like a haunted house, like
Okay.
attraction, I call it spooky. And this is spooky, it's not scary. Like
Okay.
not at all. It's just like you know what I call this? I call this a Friday night flick. It's something like it's Friday night, you're flipping channels. Oh, I never heard of the Pope's Exorcist. Grab the popcorn. Like, it's just
Okay.
something silly fun. Sci-Fi Channel would play it at like midnight on Saturday or something.
Okay. Okay.
You know, I gotta have one.
Can you pair it with zombie beavers?
I mean, obviously, it's no zombievers. Very few movies are zombie. No movie on this list is zombievers, my guy.
Oh, I'm just saying, can you make it like a double matinee?
No, zombievers deserves your full attention. And trust me, I got plenty of like beaver horror movies that we could put with zombievers. That's another story for another time. Okay, so going from silly horror into a dramedy.
Okay.
My number 4 is Spoiler Alert. Have you heard of this movie?
I recently saw that. Yeah.
So it has Jim Parsons and Ben Aldridge, who are a couple, and then they're together, everything's good, and then they get some bad news, and it's them trying to process this bad news. So I mean, this is something we've seen, a few times. There was a movie not too long ago where like the guy met the girl and then the guy had cancer, like they do this a lot, but I suggest watching it because I think Jim Parsons and Ben Aldridge do such good performances in the movie. And you, I know, will appreciate this. The scene in the hospital where they turn it into a movie set was
Beautiful.
it was just such a sight to behold. And like you said, it's just beautiful, especially in terms of the story.
Hmm.
So, spoiler alert, it's a movie that I think a lot of people didn't get to see, but I want to say it's on Peacock, maybe.
Yeah,
But
that's
that
how I
movie,
saw it. Hmm.
top notch film.
Yeah, I saw that
So,
movie probably about maybe a month ago
uh,
on Peacock, and it tore my heartstrings. And it's probably
man,
one of the best movies, probably one of the best movies I've seen this year with chemistry. Like I
yeah,
really felt like their chemistry was like perfect for this movie. And Jim Parsons, he was only in I've only seen him in that show
Big
uh
Bang.
yeah, Big Bang. I had never seen him in a movie before, I don't think.
Well, and what's funny is with Ben Aldridge, he was in Knock at the Cabin, where he
Mm,
was one of the two in the couple. But
yeah.
that couple I didn't buy. Like I
Yeah.
just didn't feel they were likable. I didn't feel like they were a good couple. And
Yeah.
then this is like what I wanted out of it. Like this, you're like rooting for these two. Like you can feel that they care for each other. And
Yep, absolutely.
that's why it tears you apart as things,
Yep.
start to but such is life.
It's a great movie.
So next up is a movie that I actually can't say anything about because the less you know about this movie, the better experience you're going to have.
Okay.
So it's on Paramount Plus. It's called Significant Other. It's got Maika Monroe. She was in Watcher, It Follows. Like she has a very interesting features to her face.
Okay.
And Jake Lacey, he's been in like some rom coms. He was the brother in Rampage, the idiot brother with like the rat cage.
Okay.
But they're a couple who go on a hike. That's all I can say. Because don't ever go on IMDb because IMDb full out spoils this movie. But this movie to me was such a good time, had good twists, creative, and I think because Maka, like I said, she's very interesting face setup. I think it adds to the mystery of this
Okay.
because of how because when you look at her, like you're like, it could be either, that's all I can say. I can't say much, but Paramount Plus, I highly suggest watching it without any pre-cons. No trailer, no IMDb, nothing. But
Okay, I'm putting
Significant
it on the
Other,
list.
very, very cool movie that, I think it has got some interesting moments. It has some creepy moments, has some funny moments. There's one in particular that's pretty funny, but
What
Significant Other,
genre
cool
would you
movie.
put it in?
I feel like that spoils so much.
Okay, all right.
Like really, like this movie, it, it's so hard to say because I really want people to get the experience I have, where my buddy Trey was like, "Look, I'm not gonna say anything about this movie, but you need to turn it on." And I was like, "I got nothing to do tonight," so I turned it on, and I was like, "What?" Like, it catches you off guard.
Okay.
But let's see. Number 2 is the Jesus Revolution. This is
Yeah.
a movie about the Time magazine article about the Jesus Revolution in California, and it's got Brendan Fraser in it. Sorry, that's for different me. It's got Kelsey Grammer in it and Joel Courtney, and I just think it's just a good little watch. I feel like everybody in it has like good qualities to them. And it was just cool seeing like Kelsey Grammer do something other than Frasier. Seeing him like really acting. Like there's a scene where he has to like break down in tears about something, and I was like, man, the dude still got it. Like,
yeah,
don't matter how old he is or what he's known for, like the dude still has it. So Jesus Revolution, I just thought it was a sweet film, and like I said, it's here. Had some tears pop up because man. Let me tell you, a child who hates their parent the whole movie. The second that child says "I love you," it always hits me in the feels, man.
yeah.
I don't know what it is.
I love that.
But
yeah, Jesus Revolution is on my list. I didn't get a chance to see that in the theater, but I definitely want to see that.
dude, I'm telling you, quality watch because it's. I'll get into another on the bad list. We'll get into another faith-based film, but with this one, what I like is they make it where that's there and that's the driving point of these characters, but it's not heavy-handed because they're like, let's show you, the good and the bad with some of them in relationships. So I really liked it, but my number 1 is The Whale with Brendan Fraser giving us just such a performance. And me being like a bigger guy, like I'm not as big as Brendan Fraser in this movie, but like I still feel some of the things he felt. And what I really love is so Hong Chow, she was in The Menu.
Yep.
As like the real snarky one. I love her in this because she plays like his best friend and like genuinely the only person on this earth that cares about him. And her performance, I feel, went way too under the radar with what quality she brought to it. But I mean, his performance, like when he finally has that big, like you've probably seen the trailer where he's bawling, he's like, "I need to know. I did one thing right with my life." I'm just like, "Oh, Sadie, why are you doing this to him?" Old Sadie Sink from Stranger Things just being worst child of the year in this movie.
Yeah. It's on my list too. Unfortunately, I still have not seen it yet.
Man.
I'm a crier and I want to see it, but every time I see that trailer, I'm like, I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready yet.
Oh, dude, let me tell you. I tell anyone, if the last 5 minutes of this movie you are not like blubber crying, then you need to reevaluate your life because that last one that's me the whole time.
I gotta see it.
Very interesting list, but I had a Pope's Exorcist, spoiler alert, Significant Other, Jesus Revolution, and The Whale.
Good list. Really good list.
It is a good list. You had a good list. But we also have a bad list. This is the boo boo list. So
The
why don't you
boo-boo.
start us off? What are your 5 boo boos of the year?
So, first off, let me say this. This year, there's been some really good movies. There's been
Yeah.
some really bad movies. And I mean, there's been a lot of bad movies.
Yeah.
I will say, I'm an AMC A-lister, and
Same.
with my number 5 on my bottom 5 list, I said in my review, I love AMC A-list. I hate AMC A-list because go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, it's funny. I looked down at my list. All 5 of these were AMC A list.
Well, everything on my list has basically been, both of my lists are all AMC A list. Well, that's not true. Modern Romance and still is not, but yeah.
I almost
AMC.
walked out of one.
I almost walked out of one too on my bottom 5. Yeah, I almost walked
Okay,
out of one.
this is exciting. You'll have to let me know which one, because I'll let you know when I get to it, because
Okay.
I have things to say about that film.
Well,
So hit me with your number 5.
My number 5 is Hypnotic, with Ben Affleck. And dude, this is the most boring, horrific acting.
Oh man.
Exposition over the top, like every single thing needs to be explained 100,000 times.
Exposition dump.
Oh my god! I was like, where are we going in this picture? Like,
and what is real?
And what is real? What is real? There are no stakes in this movie at all because they can just make up whatever rule that they want as the movie goes along. So it's like, why do I even care? So bad. And there's this loud. I feel like this is the movie, and I have to see if I can remember because I tried to dump as much as I could of this movie out of my brain. But you know how like you see movie trailers from Christopher Nolan or whatever it is, and there's this loud drone sound like boom. I felt like we had this in this movie.
We did.
Okay, so I'm not crazy.
It was an attempt at adding to the score. It was like
Yes.
Yeah. Man, what about that credit scene though?
Oh my god.
Look, here's my rule, okay? With crappy movies that have been out for a while, you can say spoilers when you're reviewing them. But when they show the credit scene with William Fichtner, I was like, what is real in this movie? Not a single stake in this movie.
Not a single one. Not a single one. And it had like 3 different endings. Like there were like 3 different endings to this movie.
Yeah.
I kept going like there was a point where, because I went and saw this with 2 of my friends, and at the end it cuts to black and then it fades back up with them in the desert and everything like that, and we're in a different, I think we're in a different universe or something like that or whatever it was. The sound, sometimes whenever you go to see certain movies in certain theaters, they're able to do the sound right, like it bounces where it's supposed to. And there is someone in the background, I think it was the villain, who was in the back left corner of this movie, and he says something like, "Go ahead," or "I'll meet you there," or "Where are you going," or something like that, right? And we get up to leave, and we thought somebody was talking to us.
Oh my god!
My friend
I remember seeing this.
He turned around looking like, who's talking to me?
That freaking movie, man. It's just bad.
It's so bad. It's so bad. I can't even. Here's the thing. It's so bad I can't even tell you what it was about. Like, that's the problem. It's like,
well, because like the problem is, look. So the base of this movie is they're hypnotics, which is another way of saying people who can do mind control. But it keeps getting more ridiculous as the movie goes along. It's like, oh well, this person can do this. well, this person can do this. Well, this person can give you an entire false reality.
Exactly.
Like, what are we doing? What are we doing, guys?
Exactly. And it looks like a movie that should have come out in the 1990s or early 2000s.
Oh my God, man. This movie, what was that movie? Like, the plot's not the same, but it just makes me think, was it Wesley Snipes? And there was like a serum or something. God, who was it? It was someone. And it's this movie where there's like a serum that somebody's trying to get. It just makes me think of something like that, where it's just this convoluted for no reason movie.
Yeah.
That you just leave and you're like, oh, yeah, I saw it. I went.
Yep. That was that. I wish sometimes with AMC A-List, if you see a bad movie, which I don't know that they would be able to do this because it's all subjective and there's no way to track it and actually hold you to truth. But if you saw a bad movie, they would give you a credit to like go see another movie or something,
They should just do it one a month.
One
a month, but you have to like fill out a thing.
Yeah.
And say like,
exactly.
Why did you feel this was not worth your free ticket? Man, let me say, there's a few on here I would do that for. I'd be like, buddy, how many pages I got?
Exactly. I've been doing one a month for a long time. So yeah, that's my number 5, Hypnotic with Ben Affleck. Skip it. Please don't watch it, even if it's free on streaming. My number 4 is Big George Foreman, and I'm gonna Google this real quick to find out exactly what the full title is because
I can do it for you.
Okay.
It's Big George Foreman, the miraculous story of the former and future world champion.
You pretty much nailed it. Big George Foreman, the miraculous story of the once and future heavyweight champion of the world.
Yeah, it's long.
And then it says, or simply Big George Foreman. Like, okay. Biopic. Okay. Biopics, they happen all the time. This is a straight up paint by numbers biopic that you've seen a million times with just a different name, right? I asked my wife when I came home and I was talking to her about this movie, and I asked several people, tell me something that you know when I say the word George Foreman. What would you say? What is he known for? Do you know 90%, if not 100% of the people that I asked said the George Foreman grill? Because they either owned one, they know somebody who owned one, or they saw his infomercial 1,000 times. That's what this movie should have been about, was the George Foreman grill, instead of about George Foreman's life. Because the boxing aspect of this movie and his whole life story about this movie, you don't care. Like, it moves so fast. It moves so fast and it's so bland that I'm like, I have no reason to care. When I saw this movie trailer before I saw it, when I saw the movie trailer, the biggest part of this film that I wanted to see was the story about him being a preacher and about him finding God. And I was like, that's something I didn't know. Let's dive into that. But the way that he's portraying being a pastor and having a congregation, none of that is believable to make me even think that he had a congregation of 5 people at all. Like,
and I mean, he might have been close, whatever, but the like voice acting that the George Foreman actor was doing, like when they did the voiceover, I was like, oh, sheesh.
Yeah, it's really bad. It's really bad. I felt like
I liked Muhammad Ali.
Okay, so I say I like Muhammad Ali, but only because he was impersonating Will Smith being Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
Like, I had already seen Will Smith do such a good job of it in Ali that this guy was basically impersonating him. And the problem that I had is that you don't know whether he's playing this for real, like he's playing it as a drama, or he's playing it as a comedy. Because I kept laughing at him. And I was like, are we supposed to be laughing at him or laughing with him? Like, are we supposed to be taking him serious? I don't really know. But the guy who's playing him, I thought did a okay job. But at the same time, I'm like, you seem like you're just doing an impersonation, you know?
Hey, he did
Um,
have the best quote in the movie, which killed me, which was like, Muhammad, I found God. He's like, congratulations, George. I didn't know he was missing. That line killed me, man, because I was like, whoa. But yeah,
yeah,
I think
yeah,
more so I was just looking for some reason, like something to like in the movie.
yeah,
Because George Foreman, like, they also portray him kind of as like a crappy person, man.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
sleeping around, all this stuff. I'm like, man, this is the guy we're supposed to root for?
But here's the thing. That's just to add some drama. I mean, it's like that with all biopics. Every
Yeah.
single person has some type of incident in their life that they're not proud of and something that's dramatic. And so they just threw that in there, just to throw that in there. But it was nothing different than I'd already seen. I was sitting in there watching it and I'm going, okay, here we go. Here's this beat point that they're going to throw in here. Oh, I'm not surprised that he slept with his, somebody else. There was a woman, there was a woman who was sitting about 3 seats down from me who was at church watching this movie. And the reason why I say that is because this is what the woman was doing. She's watching, she's going, Jesus? Jesus! Like every time something dramatic happens, like when the woman walks into his hotel room, she goes, Jesus? And then she goes, where is your wife at? Like she was talking to the movie.
Man, you should have hit her with it. Amen?
Like, when African Americans go and see movies, we always talk back to the screen. And it's okay, it's one of those things you just kind of know when we go to see our movies, right? Or movies that are made for us, we'll say, for lack of a better word. But anyways, we talk back to the screen. And sometimes that's okay if you're in a comedy, if you're in a horror movie, like, hey girl, get out of that
Yeah.
closet, blah blah, whatever. But this is a
Horror
drama,
movie, you
and this
need
woman, when you need it, yes, when you need it. This woman was watching this at home and was just going, Jesus? Jesus?
That's what George needed.
Yeah, and that's what he needed. And he found it, supposedly, but I didn't believe him. But yeah, that kind of added to this movie, but it was not, yeah, it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. And I like George Tillman Jr. He was the director, and he did a really good job on Soul Food. He did a really good job on Men of Honor. But it's been so long since I've seen him direct anything that I was like, man, you need to go back to the drawing board because you need some practice, and this is not.
Either that or it was something where he was like, oh, everybody knows George Foreman, we'll probably get some decent ticket sales, and he just wasn't invested in this.
But
But
see,
yeah,
you have to
something.
approach every subject. You have to approach every subject as if somebody doesn't know who they are, though. That's the thing.
Exactly.
It's like, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. Like, you could have just made that movie for the people who read the book and just kind of like, just didn't do the most with the direction from the actors or anything like that. And they're supposed to just accept it. And I didn't think that that was the right thing to do with this movie with Big George Foreman. And again, that title is horrific, and this movie does not.
Big
It
George Foreman, the miraculous story of the once and future world heavyweight, or the once and future heavyweight
Yeah, you
champion of
got
the
it.
world.
You got
There
it.
you go.
The longest title in history, I think. I feel like that's the longest title in history. Anyways, so that's my number 4.
Mm-hmm.
My number 3 is the movie that I almost walked out on. And I went and saw it. I think I saw this alone. No, I saw this with my friend Jeremy Brown. Sweetwater.
Man, when I read because I was gonna see it the next day, I read your review. I was like, yeah, this is a no for me, dog.
Yeah, it was a lot like Big George Foreman in the fact that you had horrific acting, horrific direction, a paint by numbers story, and this was actually something that I wanted to learn from. Like, this was a movie, a biopic about Sweetwater, who was a player on the Harlem Globetrotters. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. We don't really have a whole lot of documentaries or movies about the Harlem Globetrotters. This is going to be really, something new and something to learn from. And it has an identity crisis of where, like, you first start to talk about the Harlem Globetrotters. It could have been that movie. Then they decide they want to just focus on this one guy, Sweetwater, and talk about that. But they couldn't figure their mind out. And so they decided to do neither of those pictures. Instead, they wanted to focus on the white executives and the managers as the savior of all of these people, right? Like, you can't do any better without me. And the racist stereotypes and the racist, dialogue, it's all there, I feel like, for no reason whatsoever. No reason. Because there's no chance for Sweetwater or anybody else to overcome those stereotypes or those things that are happening around them. We're focused on the executives and the managers more than we are on Sweetwater or on the Harlem Globetrotters. Like, it's horrific. The editing is terrible. The makeup is bad. The costumes are terrible. Like, horrible wigs. Like, horrible. Like, you could see the edge lines.
Like a Tyler Perry movie wig.
Yeah. It's totally a movie that is suited for a BET or, something like that, made for TV movie, like a play or something like that. Like, I've seen bad Tyler Perry movies, and this fits right in there with them. The main lead who plays Sweetwater, I don't even remember his name, but God bless him. I think this was his first role, and you could really tell that this is,
that's a bad sign for the career.
It's a really bad sign. It's a bland score, like a typical score. Like, nobody does this movie any justice, and everyone felt like they were asleep. Like, everyone felt like they were just here for a paycheck, and that's it. And they probably shot it in a weekend. Like,
I mean, from the trailer, it looked like it had a ridiculously small budget.
Yeah, absolutely ridiculously small budget. Skip, it should. I'm surprised it was actually in the theater, and I think it was in the theater for maybe 2 weeks, something like that.
I definitely got some movies I'm surprised made it to the theater on my list.
Yeah. I'd even put Big George Foreman and Hypnotic on that list too. I don't know why they made it to the theater, but Sweetwater, I almost walked out because I was just shocked at what I was seeing on screen. That I'm like, it's 2023 and we're getting this crap. This is ridiculous. So yeah, Sweetwater, number 3. Number 2, Mafia Mama with Toni Collette. Toni Collette. She is a fish out of water who has a cheating husband, finds out that her great uncle or her great something like that.
Yeah, it's like her grand uncle or something.
Yeah, was like part of the mafia, and needs her to come there and do something. I don't know, but it is. So I always feel like comedy is probably the hardest genre to do nowadays because it's so subjective. You have so many types of comedies out there. So it's hard for me to actually judge them, but it's also hard for me to like them. I have a specific category of comedy that I like, and I don't really see it portrayed really well nowadays. And this was a comedy that just didn't hit for me. None of the comedy beats hit for me. I felt like this is probably one of the worst acting jobs that Toni Collette has ever done. Her accent was completely horrible. and I felt like she was just overly dramatic for no reason. Like I guess that was supposed to be her character, but I feel like she did it like over the top more than what she was supposed to. Like almost like the director was telling her to pull back, and she just kind of was like, "Huh? I can't hear you. Let me just do what I want to do." And it felt like a movie where they were like, "Hey, Toni Collette is in Italy for 2 weeks on vacation. Let's just see if she's available for this movie, and if she wants to come shoot some scenes, for a couple of weeks, like 2 weeks." And she showed up.
Monica Bellucci was down the street. They're like, Monica, we need you to come be the angry stereotype.
Yeah, exactly. It was cliche after cliche, tons of references to The Godfather, and I'm like,
Yeah.
why are we doing this? God, why are we doing this? The same people that, and like I said, comedy is subjective, right? The same people that will see this movie and loved it probably loved 80 for Brady with that whole group. Can't remember who was actually in that movie, but the you have this look on your face.
So I'm not confirming or denying, but I saw both movies and thought they were cute and liked both movies. So I don't know if that aids. Move on with something, man.
I saw. Look, the group that I saw this with right beside me. I was like, "Yep, this is for you guys," because they were totally into it. Again, talking back to the screen and all that whole thing, and I was like, I bet you they went and saw 80 for Brady like the week before, so I wouldn't be surprised. So and I say that to say I'm not watching 80 for Brady. I have not seen it, and I'm not watching that either. So yeah.
I only went because my mom is in her 70s, and so I took her to see it. Because she was like, "Oh, James Bond is in a film." That's a true reenactment of Wheezy. I mean, minus the voice, but she said Gronkowski's in it. Yeah, that's a true story.
Maybe one day I'll watch it. I don't know, but I have no desire. It's just
either that or rewatch Hypnotic. What's your choice?
Oh, I'm watching 80 for Brady. I'm watching 80 for Brady because at least maybe I might get a chuckle or two because I like the cat.
You don't understand Hypnotic. You have to watch it several times. You can understand that it's a movie within 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 a movie.
No. I will watch. I will watch Interstellar. I will watch Inception. I will watch Memento. If you want me to get there and do that type of thing, I'll watch those. I'm not watching Hypnotic. No.
I don't blame you.
The Matrix. Yeah. Okay, so that's Mafia Mama. Okay, and let me tell you also, all of these films on my bottom 5 have all gotten 1 star out of 5.
Oh.
Mafia Mama. I have a rating list with a couple of my friends that we do for our top 5. Number 5 is I'll just tell you this real quick. Number 5 is I'd buy it. Like it's so good that I'll buy it. It's not a perfect movie, but I'll buy it. Number 4 is I highly love it. It's I'll recommend it. I'll watch it again. Number 3 is I'm glad I saw it. So it's like it's not good, it's not bad, but it's kind of in the middle. I'm glad I saw it. Number 2 is I wish. No, number 2 is it could be worse. So it could be worse. Number 1 is worse. Like you can't do any better than that. Like that's worse. And all of these have number 1s. Have a 1 star. So, my number 1, my bottom 1, we'll say my bottom 1 for 2023 so far is House Party.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, seen this one.
Okay, House Party is just a promotional video for LeBron James. House Party, I have a history with House Party. My history with House Party was the original House Party. I was probably, I think I was like 10 years old when I saw the original House Party. I was really big into hip hop when I was a kid and loved Kid and Play. Absolutely loved Kid and Play. The little cartoon they had, I loved the songs. My parents was okay with me listening to Kid and Play because it was the type of hip hop that didn't have any cursing in it. So they were all about it. And I was like, hey, I want to go see this movie, House Party. And this is before movies had red band trailers, basically. And so I didn't know that it was, I had paid no attention that it was rated R or anything like that. I just wanted to see it. So I asked my parents to take me and my little brother. I was 10, so that means my brother was 7 years old. We go in there. I was there 10 minutes. The guy, I will never forget it. The scene where they're in the cafeteria and they're getting ready to have a fight, and the guy from Full Force says, "I'm gonna kick your effing A." My parents snatched me up with the quickness, and we left that theater. Now, since then, I've seen it 1,000 times. I love the movie. I think it's hilarious. It's a classic. It does not need to be remade or touched. So when I saw this trailer, I was like, why? There's another movie that's similar to this called White Men Can't Jump that I felt the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Why are we doing this? But I'm like, okay, whatever. It is, again, a comedy, subjective, not funny, not made for me. This is a woke, millennial comedy that they would probably get it. Again, remember I told you I don't understand.
I don't know. I'm a millennial.
Okay, well, maybe whatever.
This might be a Gen Zer.
Okay, maybe a Gen Zer. Okay, maybe it's a Gen Zer. I do not get it. I just do not get the comedy behind this movie and the jokes that are like the jokes basically, some of them are from the 1990s. I'm like, why are we still telling these jokes with the, white neighbor coming over, and saying his racist jokes? And so I'm like, why are we doing this? Like, what is this for? I am not a person who likes comedies that throw curse words in just for the sake of throwing curse words in. Or
I say the same thing all the time. I don't have an issue with cursing. Yeah. I have an issue with lazy cursing. It's like, cursing. It'd be funny. Let's just drop 3 F-bombs right here. F that mother F and F. Yeah. And that'll be hilarious. Like, no, that's lazy because you couldn't think of a smart line to say.
It's absolutely lazy. And when you throw in the N-word 100 times, when you throw in pot jokes and smoke, dope, drug dealing jokes and drug jokes and blah, 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 it's just lazy. And to me, it's just lazy. It's a hard R and it's a hard no for me. And I have nothing against LeBron James or anything, but I feel like if we were just doing a movie that was going to be dealing with LeBron James and his house and what great of a player he is and blah, blah, we did that with Space Jam too. Like, we don't need...
Yeah, I was about to say, Space Jam Legacy.
Yeah, exactly. We don't need another movie that's promoting LeBron James. I mean, there's a whole scene where they're playing basketball. Like, the entire 10 or 11 points that they were playing, we get every single basket. Like, it's a full-on basketball scene. I'm like, what movie is this? How is this a house party? How is this? Like, I didn't get it. I just didn't get it. You're throwing in cameos of people for what? Like, why is Maya in this movie? How relevant has Maya been in the last how many years? It's so bad. The movie is so terrible. It's so terrible. I absolutely hated it. It was probably one of the worst experiences watching anything on streaming that I've had the entire year. Thank God I didn't see it in AMC A-list, but I saw it on streaming and I was like, I have to watch it, I guess. And it was just a waste of my time. Absolute waste of my time. So, yeah, House Party. Number 1. Bottom 1.
All right, hit us with those 5 again.
All right, so number 5, we've got Hypnotic. Number 4, we've got Big George Foreman, The Miraculous Story of blah, 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 blah. I can't do it, I'm sorry. Sweetwater is number 3. Mafia Mama is number 2. And number 1, bottom one is House Party. All 1 stars.
Terrible movie.
Terrible.
Well, here we go. Got 5 movies, and I regret every one of them. Like, you know me, sometimes I'll watch bad stuff like Hypnotic. I'm glad I saw it just because, like, I can make so many jokes about it. These 5 I regret seeing imminently, especially the number 1 movie. But at number 5, we have Insidious: The Red Door. Let's take a franchise that's been going on. This is the 5th film. Let's take the main person, Patrick Wilson. Let him be the director. Make the movie all about him, like, and some like crap where it's like, oh, I don't remember what happened. And then I don't care if this is a spoiler, but when a demon gets defeated by paint, like, what are we doing? What are we doing here?
Like, paint.
So, like I said, I don't care. It's been out for a minute. Spoiler, but so the dad, who's Patrick Wilson, and his son, they had their memories. They were hypnotized to forget. But the son, during a painting class, he paints the red door that the demon lives behind in the like other world, and that allows the demon to come into the real world. But the only way to stop him is the son takes paint and paints over the door.
Dude, no way.
This is how the movie ends, Corey. It's so bad, and the movie is just not worth anyone's time. He's defeated by paint.
Why does it take an hour and a half or 2 hours to realize that's how you defeat the demon?
And trust me, like, let's say this movie is 1 hour 39 minutes. That happens 1 hour 38 minutes. Like, it's like, oh, we gotta close the door by painting over it. Like, I'm not getting into it. Insidious: The Red Door, trash. Franchise I actually enjoy, but this movie, woofda.
Is this the same film? I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. But is this the same film where Patrick Wilson is in the MRI machine?
Yes.
Okay,
That's this one.
I saw that in the trailer, and I was like, nope, I'm not watching that with the whole claustrophobic thing and blah, blah, blah. And my wife saw it, and she was like, oh, I want to see that. But now I'm like, I don't think so.
Tell her don't waste your time. Like, that's such a small part in the movie that you're just like, what are we doing here?
Wow. Okay.
Defeated by paint, Corey. So if your house ever gets haunted, just get some paint out and go.
I got plenty of it. I'm glad I remember that. Okay.
Number 4 is Kandahar, which is a Gerard Butler movie. And take the Guy Ritchie's The Covenant with Jake Gyllenhaal that just came out also.
Yeah.
Take that, but take away any good quality of the movie, and you have Kandahar. Like, in The Covenant, you see why these two people like are trying to fight to help each other. In Kandahar, it's like, oh man, wait, these two are supposed to be like brothers. Let's just have them call each other brother, and obviously that means that they're brothers. Like, it's just a schlocky action movie, and like I said, there's already a better one that was released this year. So why do we need a second one that's trash? So Kandahar, not worth your time. Just watch Guy Ritchie's The Covenant. Better story, better act.
Great movie.
All right. So I referenced this earlier when I was talking about Jesus Revolution. So this next movie is a faith-based horror film called Nefarious. So imagine you wanted to make a horror movie, okay? And imagine you wanted to make a possession movie, okay? But then be like, you know what? This is a faith project, so we can't show a demon. We can't make it scary. And so everything is just implied. And Corey, let me ask you something, okay? You see a lot of movies, right?
Yeah.
If a guy his acting, okay, was, oh, if somebody's possessed by a demon, then this is what they do when they're possessed is as they're talking to you, they just keep like they just keep doing like this the whole time. Could you watch that for an hour and 43
Absolutely not.
minutes?
Absolutely not. No.
I was fuming because I was like, dude, like somehow you're the best. I don't remember who it is, but you're the best known actor in this movie and you're giving the worst performance. Like it was just everything about this movie's terrible. And then they try and like cram in like a did you ever like know of or go to a hell house when you were younger?
No.
So a hell house is like where a church puts on like a haunted house, but it's really just like telling you not to sin and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
They try and cram in one of those kind of messages at the end of this and make it like a whole thing where it's like against abortion and all this stuff. And I'm just like, y'all did not know what kind of movie you wanted to make. And this guy's performance is like genuinely like cringy. Because like I said, it's just him like fidgeting and like blinking for an hour 43. Nefarious, terrible movie. Not even bad where it's worth your time. It's just bad.
Did that movie come out this year?
In theaters.
Oh my
Everything
gosh.
on this list, I actually went to the theater and watched.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Oof.
Yeah. Okay, so number 2, you were talking about earlier, comedy is subjective.
Mm-hmm.
And I also believe that because it is. Like something that makes one person laugh might not work for somebody. Well, what did not work for me is Fool's Gold with Charlie Day. This was written, acting, and directed by Charlie Day, and I did not laugh once in this movie. I was not about. Did you see this movie?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
So, like, the basic plot is Charlie Day plays 2 characters, an actor and this one guy that can't speak, but they're identical. So, like, the actor gets in an accident, and so they replace him with this guy, but he can't speak. So then it's a comedy of errors. And I'm just like, he got so many A-list and high B-list people to be in this movie. Like, the other main characters are like Kate Beckinsale, Adrian Brody. Like, he got all these people, and I'm just like, for what? For what reason are we here?
And they didn't make you laugh either? Oh, wow.
Nothing about this movie made me laugh because there's no good comedy in it. Like, it's just, oh, look, isn't this a funny situation? Like, no, it's not. I don't know. It did not work for me. And it's one of those where it ends and I'm just like, I don't care if there's anything in the credits or after credits. I'm done. I'm leaving. It's not like Hypnotic where we get a quality credit scene. William Fitch, they're pulling off the mask. Fool's Gold. More like Fool's Movie.
Is that one where you almost walked out?
Oh, no, we're about to get to that one.
Okay.
Or you have access to a computer, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a movie title, and I need you to tell me how long this movie is. Because I actually have a backstory on this one. It's called Skin-a-Marink, all one word. Like skin a rink, all one word. What is the length of this movie?
This length is 100 minutes.
Okay, so this movie is an hour 40.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you a little story. Okay, so this movie, it was this guy, Kyle Edward Ball. I will never, to the end of my days, be able to forget this man's name because of my hatred for him. He made a 10-minute short on YouTube. Okay. Somehow he was able to make this film, which he wrote, directed, starred in, edited, everything. Okay.
Mm.
When I tell you that this movie is a 2-minute film stretched out to an hour 40. Nothing happens in this movie. Okay. He films it where like there'll be like a 5-minute scene of him filming the ceiling. And you just hear like he keeps that bong you were talking about with Hypnotic?
Yeah.
Imagine like ah! Or like stuff like that, like loud, obnoxious voices every now and then, just popping in, jarring cuts. Like it really is like nothing against people who have Tourette's, but this is like a
Right.
5-year-old Tourette's made a film. Like
Wow.
it is so sloppy, and there's one scene where like blood splattered on the wall, and this dude genuinely kept repeating that, and it was obvious he just like looped it and turned that into a 6-minute scene where it's like ah, ah, this movie, I like got to a point where I broke out my phone and I was like, okay, I'm starting a list on everything that I hate about this movie while I'm watching it because I
Wow.
was like, I'm not gonna walk out because I feel I can't justify this as the worst film I've ever seen if I walk out.
Mm-hmm.
So I sat there, gritting my teeth, only person in the theater, and there were moments where I like audibly yelled out just because I was like so fed up with it.
Yeah.
And this movie, the only reason it got released in theaters is because a bunch of hipsters went on TikTok, and because this movie is nonsense, like there's no plot or anything you can decree from it if you watch it. And so because you know, they weren't gonna allow themselves to admit I didn't get it. They were like, "Oh no, you don't understand. It's the spookiest, scariest movie you've ever seen." And so it got a release in theaters. I went and saw it, and this movie, Skinamarink, is an insult to anyone who has ever loved film. And I
Wow.
wish nothing but terrible, like not like anything physical or anything like that, but I really hope because of this, that guy who directed and everything is barred from ever doing anything film related. Like
Yeah.
this movie, words can't describe my hatred for this film just because it's not a film. There's no plot. Like, and like I said, the cuts are like, okay, so see my screen, right? So his cut would be like, oh, let me stare at the ceiling for 3 minutes. And then, oh, no, we're going to show you the floor for 2 minutes. Oh, we're going to show you this hallway, which nothing happens. We're going to show you that for 7 minutes. Like,
It's just on to
it
build
just,
suspense. It's a lazy way to build suspense, is what it sounds like to me.
nothing happens.
I know,
Nothing.
but it just gives you that thought to like, oh my God, am I gonna see something that I shouldn't be seeing, or I don't know.
He's a con artist. I'm telling you. It makes me mad.
I'd never heard of it. It looks like it was done on Shutter or something like that. Yeah, doesn't
Don't
sound like something I'd be interested in.
anyone who can hear my voice, do not give this man any more of your time. He is not worth it. But those are my five: Sidious the Red Door, Kandahar, Nefarious, Fool's Gold, and Skinamarink.
Wow. Okay.
But Corey, we're nearing the end of the episode. So let's give, for this category, two for the road. I said it can be honorable mentions, it can be shows. It's just two more things you wanted to throw some attention to. So hit me with your two for the road.
My two for the road are two TV shows that are easily accessible and extremely binge worthy. One is Beef, that's on Netflix with Ali Wong. What's that?
That is a wild ride.
It is a wild ride that you cannot get off of. My wife and I binge watched it in one day. Like, we could not stop watching. Yeah, I haven't watched anything like that in a long, long time. Where I could not stop watching it. We both binge watched it in one day, and that's a lot to take in because a lot happens in this show. It's with Ali Wong and Steven Yeun from The Walking Dead. Yeah. Both of these actors were phenomenal. It seemed like it was an easy thing for them to do, to be honest with you, because everything that they do in this TV series and the way that they are portraying these characters seems so natural and so relatable and honest. I do not get into road rage ever. Like, if somebody cuts me off when I'm driving, I'm like, whatever. I have lots of patience with people. Even if I know that they are doing something wrong, I forgive them. So it's like, hey, if they cut me off, it's like, you obviously have someplace that you need to get to that's more important than me. And so I'm like, whatever. But I know people who do have road rage, and I can see where something that happens in this movie would probably annoy you. This TV series would probably annoy you and have you react in that type of way. But the twists and turns and the things that happen in this TV series.
What I like is no one is truly good. Like, there's not a single character in the movie.
Nope.
That is truly, or show, I mean, there's not a single character that's good. But at the same time, there's not a single character that's fully bad.
Exactly.
And the levels, and it kills you because, like, there will be something where it's like, oh my God, things are going to work out. Yep. And then, like, at the end of the episode, something happens where you're like, oh no. And then it's just such a tumultuous, like, exchange.
Yes, it really is. And it kind of had that Breaking Bad feeling for me, of where, like, you think that Walter is, like, all good, and then all of a sudden he does something that's bad. Same thing with Jesse. I had the same feeling with all these characters in this movie. In this TV series, of where, like, I was like, I thought I could trust them. I thought that, they were good. And then you find out they do something really crappy. It was like, oh man, seriously?
Cliffhanger with Ali Wong eating at the Burger King.
What they make you
think happened, man, you're like, no.
Yep. Absolutely. Such a good series. I think it's one of those shows that is a perfect one season show. Like, it wraps itself up in the end. It gives you closure that I don't think that they need to do a second season. It is a perfect 10 episode binge worthy type of thing. I may not necessarily recommend people watch it all in one day because it is a lot to consume, and it's some heavy subject matters, but at the same time, it's gonna be hard for you to stop watching it. It really is. I love Beef. I thought it was a great series. I'm glad that I watched it. I remember seeing the trailer and I was like, oh, that looks interesting. And then I showed it to my wife. She was like, maybe. And it's also one of those things, when I watch TV series, I always give it the 2-episode trial run. If the first episode doesn't connect me, I'm like, okay, let me watch one more. If I can't connect with the second episode, then I may not finish it. But I at least give it 2 episodes. And this TV series did that. The first episode I thought was just kind of okay. I was like, it's not bad. And the second episode is when I got hooked. And I was like, okay, here we go. So I love that TV series. The other TV series is One that I was really surprised to love as much as I did. I think you and I talked about this at one point.
Man, we talked about this a lot.
Yeah, this was Love and Death, the series about Kathy Montgomery, the murderers. Yes, Candy. You're right. On HBO Max. Now, it is important to know that there are two versions of this story.
Yes. Yes.
One that was done on Hulu, which I think was done first, called Candy.
And it's just called Candy with Jessica Biel.
Yes. And this one that was done on HBO Max with Elizabeth Olsen and Jesse Plemons. Another series that hooks you straight from the beginning. Straight from the beginning.
It's so different from Candy because Candy, I feel like they play up more of, this is the, local church lady, Candy Montgomery. Yep. Whereas in this one, you're like, right off the bat, they're like, look, I mean, Candy, she got some looks to her. Like they play up like Elizabeth Olsen more as an essential matter than they did with Jessica Biel.
I agree. They really tried to make Jessica Biel out to be this horrific looking woman and unattractive. Yeah. They really flip it with Elizabeth Olsen. And it's just extremely well acted, like extremely well directed. I love the music in the show. I feel like the needle drops do a really good job with each point of this TV series. Jesse Plemons is someone who's become one of my favorite actors nowadays. He can do so many things. I was concerned about him being typecast when I first saw him a long time ago, but he has really got some range to him. And Elizabeth Olsen as well. Like, I didn't know where she was going to go with her career. And I feel like she's done a really good job in the action role of Wanda Maximoff in the Marvel franchises. And I feel like she's done a really good dramatic role with this. And she was also in Godzilla, right, I believe?
Yes. She was in the first one with Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Yes. It's just so good. Like, I love the chemistry between the two of them. I kept waiting to see what was going to happen because I didn't know this story. I honestly had never heard of the story.
I didn't either, but they hit you. It's the first episode, I think, or the second, where she's taking a shower, and they do that quick cut where it's her covered in blood, and you're just like, what? And you hate it because, like, in this one, she's such, like, a likable person. Like, you get why she takes the attention of the church. Because, like, it's just the way, you know what? I'm thinking about having an affair. Alan, you want to have an affair?
Exactly.
Like, you're like, you know what, Alan? You should have an affair. Like, affair is a terrible thing, but it's just the way she just has that charisma about it.
Yeah.
And then how it goes towards the end. There's a scene with Elizabeth Olsen at the psychiatrist or psychologist. That scene, you're just like, oh no, like and the acting and just the screaming and crying she's doing, you're like, man, she's just killing it.
It's method acting at its finest. It's one of those where you're like, this person really went deep into their soul and really attached to something to make them feel the way that they're feeling and make us at home believe what it is that they're actually portraying on screen and want to embrace them and really try to figure out how, they got into where they are. I just felt like she did such a phenomenal job that I'm like, she's got to get an Emmy for this TV series, and Jesse Plemons as well. And it's also one of those things where you were talking about, you see the first episode and you see her covered in blood and everything like that flash forward happens, it seemed like at every single end of every episode that I was like, I gotta watch the next one. I don't know what's gonna happen. And it was one of those where I watched it from the beginning when it first came out, and there was only 2 episodes out, and they were only releasing them weekly or whatever it was. And we had a moment where there was like 3 weeks that went by before the next episode came out, and I was infuriated. And I told you, I was like, I got up early this morning before I went to work, and it's the first thing that I saw. I couldn't wait.
And dude, I don't know what it is with like HBO Max, whatever you would call it. They always nail theme songs. Because I'm one of those guys, like, if I'm throwing on a show and I'm, like, binging it, I'll skip the theme song a lot of times, just because I'm, like, I'm hooked. But with this one, it was so perfect for how you feel as you're on that ride through the show that every time I was like, hold on, let me just get ready for whatever this episode's going to bring me. Because you start to like figure out, okay, we're getting towards something bad.
Yep.
So let me enjoy the calm.
Yep. I did the exact same thing. I agree with that. I did the exact same thing with this show. And it's again one of those series where I think it's extremely binge worthy. I may or may not recommend you watching it all in one day, but you easily could. And it's a perfect 1 season series that wraps everything up. It's like a.
It really does wrap it up.
Yeah, it's a mini series that I don't think that they need to go any further than that. It gives you enough to want to go back and read the articles or watch the real news clips if you really wanted to, but you really don't have to. And I would say go into it blind, and you will love. I even told my mom. I was like, Ma, I was like, you got to watch the show. And she was hooked. And she said she loved every drop of it. And she did the exact same thing that I did. After I watched it, I went and watched Candy. And I was like, this does not live up to Love and Death. And she said the exact same thing. She was like, yeah, that was boring. Like,
I did the same thing.
Yeah. It's good to watch it that way versus the other way, I feel like. Or just, hell, not even watch Candy.
I really don't think you need to. I think Love and Death.
Yeah, I don't think you need to. Yeah, I agree. So those are my 2 for the road, if you will. Love and Death and Beef, HBO Max and Netflix.
Dude, solid choices. Well, let's continue the show train. Both of mine are actually Peacock shows.
Oh.
So the first one is Miss Davis. This is
I want to see that.
Zany, like, comedy sci-fi series with Betty Giplin as the lead, who's like a nun going up against AI.
Mm-hmm.
And this movie is this show, I love Betty Giplin. She was in this movie, The Hunt. She was in Glow on Netflix.
Yep.
She's just funny. And so when you see her in all these predicaments, and especially her relationship with the Lord, I won't get into that, but it's a fun show. Like, you don't always have to have something like Love and Death, where you got this like just, impeccable writing, quality story, or something like Beef, where it's just like next episode. Sometimes you just need like a fun little watch where you get some laughs, you get some twists, and you get Betty Giplin do what she does best. That's making wild faces.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Miss Davis, highly recommend. And the other show is Poker Face. So this is with Natasha Lyonne, and she's basically like, they're doing like Monk or Psych, but her thing is, if you say a sentence to her, she knows whether you're lying or not, like, automatically. And this is from Rian Johnson, who gave us Knives Out, both of those movies. And so she gets blamed for a murder, has to go on the run, and so to like make money, she has to solve a murder in each episode. So it's like one of those murder of the week shows. but every episode has like big stars that are only in that episode. And
Mm-hmm.
so, it's kind of like Knives Out where he gets big people. And I just like I was a big fan of Monk, big fan of Psych. I just like those Murder of the Week shows. Except like in Knives Out, he shows you kind of what the murder is, but then she has to figure out how it happened. Even though you
Mm.
know who did it and what happened. But you have to
Mm.
see how she figures it out. And so I like Natasha Lyonne. She was in like I guess most people would know her from American Pie and But I'm a
Yeah.
Cheerleader.
Yeah.
But funny show. So two little funny shows, both on Peacock: Poker Face and Miss Davis.
Miss Davis is on my list. I hadn't seen anything about Poker Face. I saw the name, but I hadn't seen any promotional material around it. So
Check it out. It's
I
very
will.
good.
I will.
But guys, we've reached the end of the episode. We gave you an all-star extravaganza review of the year of 2023 so far. But before we head out, Corey, is there any way you want to tell the people to check you out?
Oh,
What do you
okay.
got?
Well, I'm on Twitter and I'm on Instagram. You can check me out on Twitter under Edit Photo Gamer. I post a lot of my reviews there. And you can also check me out on Instagram under New Film Editor, or you can check me out on Instagram under Wrestling Snapshots. And that's where I put all my snapshots of the wrestles, if you will.
You may or may not see me in a bunch of those if you look under anything Atlanta Wrestling Entertainment. You may see some photos of me.
Every once in a while,
but guys, yes. We appreciate you listening. And if you want to let us know why Corey is wrong about Mafia Mama or why I'm right about Mafia Mama or any other movie, maybe you actually were the one person that understood Hypnotic. There's so many ways you can do it, but the best ways is to check us out on Instagram and TikTok, A Toast to Film, all one word, or check us out on Twitter at film_toast. And from Corey, Trey, and myself, we just wish you a good night and good viewing.